Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here recording episode number 66, and today we have a special episode coming your way all about Black History Month. It is February, which for our listeners who are not residing in the United States, that means it is Black History Month in the United States right now. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about some of the amazing people that we have had throughout history in the United States who have made some changes, especially in the civil rights movement and progressing the arts and music and everything. So it should be an enjoyable episode today, commemorating some of the finest African Americans that we have seen in the United States. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really curious to hear what my amazing co-host has to say today. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. I love the blacks. I'm a big fan of the blacks. The blacks love me. And we're here to honor the blacks today. Welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. Please.
Пожалуйста.
This is a polyglot podcast.
Пожалуйста.
Follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Or you can email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us your stories. Tell us your untranslatables. Tell us your goals. Tell us just, you listen to the podcast. Tell us something about our topics. Or you can spread a little love and give us some 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. By the way, don't think I can't see how many people listen to this. In comparison to how many reviews we have, it's not lining up. And I'll tell you this.
That's true.
I can see it by state and country. I'm coming for you guys personally. Woo, but only if you have something good to say, review us. Because you know what? We don't need any of that negativity in this house.
Ich bin Vashbirn.
New drop day. One of my new favorites already.
There we go. A little German Kermit. I like it. I like it. Actually, Jared, while we're on the topic of our listeners, I would actually like to start today's episode a little differently because I've been going through the stats on our page, and I would just like to give a shout-out to some early shout-outs to our listeners all over the place. So one moment, let me get into the stats real quick. Should have had this up. I forgot I wanted to do this episode. This is what happens, people,
I
when
can name
you're
a couple
running.
off the top of my head.
Go for it.
I noticed we got a new one, Indonesia. Shout out to Indonesia.
Nice.
Oman is on there.
Mm-hmm.
We got Brazil. I know we got a couple in Europe. We have Czech Republic, of course, shout out. We have, I'm going to stop doing that. That's annoying me now.
That's
we
fair.
have
Germany, France, UK.
Sweden, I believe.
Yes, Sweden,
I believe
Switzerland.
Iraq, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Australia, maybe not anymore, but I know we have had listeners in Australia. Please come back.
That's right.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We have had listeners in Japan. I know that.
Yes, we have. So big shout out to all of our listeners coming from all over the globe. It's really great. And we would love to hear from all of you, as Jared mentioned earlier this episode. So drop us a line somewhere. We'd love to hear from you.
Пожалуйста.
And thanks again for your support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Speaking of support from international audiences, have you heard about 21 Savage, famous rapper?
Oh my gosh, yes.
By the way,
This
I'm
is
familiar
crazy.
with the name 21 Savage.
Okay.
And I'm familiar with the face, but I wouldn't have been able to put those two together as the rapper / performer known as 21 Savage. So, sorry, I have a lozenge in my mouth because I'm sick. I'm almost done with it, though.
We both have colds, so it's that time of the year.
My piano
We're
teacher
here
gave me
doing it for you
lozenges
people.
yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Hey, hey.
Ich bin Vashbirn.
And right now I'm a person who's sick. So 21 Savage, his real name is Shia bin Abraham Joseph. It's powerful. Is currently in ICE custody. I don't know if he still is. This was a couple days ago. But
Right.
he arrived in the U.S. from the U.K. at the age of 7, making him... So he was in a program similar to the Dreamer program, I believe. And he grew up in America, but then he went back to, let's see this.
Wasn't it one of the Caribbean islands or something?
What do you mean he went to the Caribbean islands? Is that where he went?
I thought he was actually from one of the like UK territories in the Caribbean islands.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
I could be wrong.
As I'm
though.
reading the article, that's not. Although, cut to the chase. On the 3rd of February, he was arrested and seized by law enforcement because he is a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested unlawfully present United Kingdom national Abraham Joseph during a targeted operation with federal and local law enforcement partners. Early Sunday, said U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement spokesperson. And and they also noted that 21 Savage is a convicted felon, which is not true.
Really? Okay.
They said, according, I'll say I'll read 21 Savage's legal team statement because it sounds like he paid for some good lawyers. I don't know much about law, but even I was reading this and I was like, oh, this is good.
Nice.
So this is from his lawyers. There has been a great deal of misreporting in the case of Shia bin Abraham Joseph, known professionally as 21 Savage. Conjecture and misinformation help no one make good decisions and lead to false conclusions. Here are the facts. Mr. Abraham Joseph was born in the United Kingdom. Mr. Abraham Joseph arrived legally in the United States at the age of 7. He remained in the United States until 2005 when he departed for approximately 1 month to visit the United Kingdom. He returned to the United States under a valid H-4 visa on July 22, 2005. Mr. Abraham Joseph has been continuously physically present in the United States for almost 20 years, except for a brief visit abroad. Unfortunately, in 2006, Mr. Abraham Joseph's legal status expired through no fault of his own. Mr. Abraham Joseph, like almost 2 million of his immigrant child peers, was left without immigration status as a young child with no way to fix this immigration status. These dreamers, quote-unquote, come from all walks of life and every ethnicity. Mr. Abraham Joseph has no criminal convictions and charges under state or federal law and is free to seek relief from removal in immigration court. ICE provided incorrect information to the press when it claimed he was a criminal. He had a criminal conviction. There's more, but you get the point.
Right.
It's a legit problem in his life, but man, Twitter has been fun. Oh man, it's been so good.
Did you see what Miss Mayonnaise Tommy Lauren posted?
Oh no, I did not. Oh, gross.
She posted something, I don't even remember what it was, and Cardi B messaged her or retweeted her. I don't really know the inner workings of Twitter like you do, Jared. Thank you.
Quote tweeted is technically what it was.
Okay, and she said, "Don't make me get my leash."
I saw that. I did see that.
Yep.
Although I saw that tweet specifically, but I didn't even pay attention to what Tammy Larness said anyway. So
probably a good idea, I would say.
But yeah, it's just interesting. I think it's, even though this sucks for him, I think it is kind of useful for like a popular figure. It's so funny looking at him right now with a tattoo of a cross in the middle of his forehead.
Right.
As I'm about to make a serious point about this guy. It is like, I think it's useful for someone this famous and rich to get caught up in this situation, to sort of shed light on something that can clearly happen to anyone.
Right.
And the only reason it probably happened to him is because of how famous he is, and so he has a spotlight on him. But like this happens to not famous people all the time too, and I think it's
right.
It shows it helps shed light on where we need to fix the system or improve the system.
Right.
Not that it'll be improved anytime soon, but
right. And the other thing is, I read somewhere, and I have no idea whether or not this is true. I don't even remember the source, but I do remember reading about how he just put out a collaboration track with J. Cole. I think it's called A Lot. And he talked about, and I think he talked about, basically, I think he was kind of talking, pretty negatively about ICE, which I'm sure doesn't do you any good. Let me see here.
I saw fun tweets like from bruh to bruv or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, do you know the song "Man's Not Hot"? It goes skit, and so it was like a 21 Savage music video, but with that song over it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it was just a bunch of fun.
So
tweets
now,
about, I guess, a very serious situation.
I found it. Now, I don't know how credible this is. This is coming from TMZ. So take that with a grain of salt. But 21 Savage said, Ice out for revenge because I slammed them in my new music. 21 Savage, wherever his people means, I don't know if that's his legal team or who that is, released a stinging statement in which they clearly think Ice's motives are corrupt. Many have speculated as to possible ulterior motives for his arrest and detention, including that he released music 5 days prior to his arrest, which included lyrics condemning the behavior of immigration officials for their detention of children at the border. The song in question, A Lot, has the following lyrics. Been through some things, so I can't imagine my kids stuck at the border. Flint still need water, he's right. People was innocent, couldn't get lawyers. So there you go.
There you go.
You betcha.
Well, shout out to him. We're just throwing shout outs out like they're
That's
free.
true. We're
Usually people
spreading
pay for
a lot of love. That's true. It's expensive.
One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this would be something useful to talk about. It's currently, I guess you could say, tax season here in America. And tax season, I guess generally you would say it goes from January 1st to April 15th, where taxes are technically due, although a lot of people file for
Early. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can file anywhere in between that time. But how do you tend to be when it comes to tax doing? Are you one to do it January 3rd or April 14th?
I do it early. I like getting that refund quick.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm usually usually what got me to do it last time. I'm a hardcore procrastinator. What got me to do it last time was I got an email from TurboTax saying that the free tax filing is going to go away in 3 days, and I'm like, well, I'm not paying to file my taxes,
Right?
So I just I guess I'm going to do it now, and that's all that got me to do it. But I wonder do you know what the tax doing process is like in other countries like Germany or the Czech Republic or something like that?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
No idea. You've never had to pay taxes there.
No idea.
All right, never mind then. Forget about it.
Yeah, unfortunately. I might be able to tell you in a year or so if I end up staying here. So keep that question on the back burner.
So you've gotten new students, haven't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This is what, day 3 or whatever? 4, I guess.
Yeah, day 4. Yeah, because it was this week. Yeah, because I came back from Humpelets. Yeah, everything seems like a blur. I've been doing so much stuff. It seems like a blur.
That's what I'm here for. I'm your secretary.
That's right. But yeah, it's been going well. I am trying to make it a habit this semester of learning my students' names a lot faster. So we'll see how that goes. Well, we played an activity today where basically you have... I wrote my name on the board, and then there's 3 categories: country and city, food, and something you like. So let's do this with you, Jared. So give me a country and a city that starts with J, a food you like, or just a food or a drink that starts with J, and something you like to do.
Do the country and city have to be the same place in the same?
No.
Okay, because I was like, that might be hard. Jamaica, there's a country.
Okay.
A city. Jamestown something. There's a Jamestown somewhere. Let me think of one I actually know. Jersey City, New Jersey.
There you go. Okay, good. A food? Or a drink?
Jamon. Oh.
What is that?
I think that's Spanish for ham, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, fuck.
I have no idea.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Well, now I'll check,
idea.
but I hate that I just did this to myself.
Is that with a J?
I think so.
Okay. So there's a name here in the Czech Republic.
Yes, I was right.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, before I go on,
Jamali.
And what's a thing you like to do that starts with J?
Jam out to music.
Ooh, that's a good one. So yeah, so that's what I did with my students. Mine were
and chuckle.
That's mine. Mine were China and Chomutov were my places.
Oh, that's easy.
I
C's an
like
easy
that I
one.
could, yeah. Well, I tried to do CH because in the Czech alphabet, CH is its own sound.
Ah, I got you.
So China and Chomutov, food was chicken and cheese, and things I like to do, I like to chill out.
That's good. That's good. Could you think of any? Could you like a one or two of your favorites from the students?
Well, one that was tricky today is I have a student named Zdeněk, and that's spelled with a Z, ZD.
Ooh,
And that was a tough one. And I was thinking of foods.
I like that name though.
It's a cool name. Yeah, I like Zdeněk. It has a nice sound to it. Nice ring to it. But I had to help him out a little bit. He got Zimbabwe, which was good.
Okay,
For
yeah.
country. Zlín was his city, which is a
that
place in the
Czech
Czech
city?
Republic.
Okay.
There's also another place called Znojmo, which also has a Z.
That's awesome.
So, yep. So you could find your Z's in the Czech Republic. For food, I told him the only food I could think of was zucchini or
Okay.
zucchini bread,
Yeah, zucchini.
and then something you like to do. I explained to him that if you say in English to catch some Z's, means you're going to
sleep,
take a
yeah.
nap, go to
That's
sleep.
untranslatable.
Yeah, yep. But there were a lot of good ones. There were some really creative ones. What I found was interesting is under country, a lot of my students put like a state in the United States. So I'm not sure if that was on me or on them. But
Okay.
but what was even more fun though this week, Jared, is I brought
Did you
in a
clar-
little.
Did you clarify if they know what the difference? If they know that they're states?
Yeah. I tried to explain that. But we'll do a lesson on the United States at some point in the semester anyway, so it'll become even more clear after that. But anyways, where was I going with this now?
I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. Oh yeah, I brought in a bag, like a little vinyl bag, and I put a bunch of stuff that I've kind of accumulated while I've been here in the Czech Republic. Like I have a couple different tram tickets from Prague. I had a two euro coin that I got from Germany, a guitar pick, or as the Czech word is, tersátko, a little early Czech word of the pod for all of our listeners out there. And then the funniest thing though is I have these seeds. They're watercress seeds, and watercress in Czech is 1 second. Řeřicha. So it's got two of the řs right back to back. So it's R-I-C-H-A. Řeřicha.
Yeah.
And so I gave it to the students, and what I did is I gave each student an item, and they had to try to guess how was the item related to me? Why is the item important to me? Whatever. And that one was one of my favorite ones to give to students because a couple students were like, we think you maybe are a gardener and you're into gardening. And I was like,
Why
no,
was it
not
important to you?
just because. Well, so the story is, I got the
I don't know the answer.
Řeřicha from a friend of mine here who knows I'm learning Czech, and he told me to say Řeřicha. And at the time, I was saying it like Žežika. It just wasn't quite the same. And so he found the watercress seeds like in this little package at his house, and he gave them to me. And there's a bunch of seeds. There's got to be at least 50, 60, 70 seeds in there, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
he said when you go back to America, you need to plant the seeds, and every time you plant a seed, you have to say Řeřicha.
Would you eat the watercress once they grew?
Sure, why not?
Okay, just curious. Just
Why
curious.
not? Maybe now
I
I will
mean,
become a gardener. Who knows?
But that's the thing, though. Is your students would never have guessed. Like it's almost impossible for your students to have guessed that.
Which is kind of the point. Makes it more
Yeah,
fun.
I guess.
You know?
Yeah, if they just figure it out right away, then it's kind of boring. It's like, yep, you got it. Let's move on.
Right. So I gave them that. I gave them, what were some other things? I have a birthday card from my parents that also, to all our listeners out there, check out our Instagram page for cute dog pictures of my dog back in the States.
Yes.
But I have a birthday card from my parents, and it has a basset hound on the cover of it. And so I passed it around for my students, and I said, why do you guys think this birthday card is special? And, you know, they obviously went for the clear and easy answer, which is, oh, you were here in the Czech Republic during your birthday, your parents sent you a birthday card, which is true. But I
Right.
said, okay, look more closely. Why do you think this card, exactly, why do you think this card is important? And then a couple students said, oh, is that your dog? And the dog has sunglasses on, but it looks just like my Basset Hound back home. I was like,
they all
yeah, it's
look the
basically
same.
my dog except for the sunglasses.
I don't mean to. You'd probably argue that, but
Argue what?
you didn't hear me. I said they all look
didn't.
the same.
Oh, Basset Hounds?
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree on that one. We'll have to do
But that's
another animal episode, and then we can talk about it.
Just an all-out argument.
That's right. But yeah, it's
wanna,
been going good though. Yeah?
Do you want to spread a little love?
Of course. I have a really special one that I think when I came across this I just thought this was so awesome. So, and I'm curious if you're gonna ask the golden question. Where did you find this? Because you always ask me that, Jared. So right here, I would like to give a really special shout out to Lori Lakin Hutcherson. Do you know who she is?
No.
So she is the founder of goodblacknews.org.
Okay.
Which their tagline on their website is the good things black people do, give and receive all over the world. And the reason why I want to give a shout out to her is she noticed that she started this in 2010, and she realized that there were really no news sources that were giving people of color the recognition that they deserve. And so in 2010, she decided that she would want to start, this news source for black people, which I think is really amazing. There's a lot of great stories on there, and a couple of my shout outs from today come directly from the website. But she mentions that, the media bias in the United States really does reflect, unfortunately, a lot of the intrinsic bias in U.S. culture and society. And she notes that people of color are often seen as threats or exceptions, but not commonly enough as typical human beings. And I could not agree more. If you look at the way that many African Americans are portrayed in the media, generally it seems like the pictures are usually negative, whereas if it's a white person that does the same thing, it'll be like, I remember there was that guy in Colorado that murdered his family. And they didn't show his mugshot, but they showed a picture of him and his family. And he's a white guy, right? Whereas if it was a black guy, you better believe they're going to find this picture yeah?
There also that picture of him like at a mountain somewhere, just like smiling.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked just like a lovable dad. It's like this guy murdered his whole family. Another thing that the media does a lot is they, or not even the media. This is just how another way that black people are perceived is always older. And older than other races, so it's always like they look threatening. They looked like they were going to attack me. Then you find out it was like a 12-year-old or something. It's like really
right.
You thought this 12 like they're always perceived to be older and never
Exactly.
looked at as like they're just for example, there's a great example I love. It's hilarious. During the Olympics, when Ryan Lochte stole something from a gas station in Brazil because he's an idiot.
Right.
Billy Bush, actually, the same guy that was involved with the grab him by the pussy thing, was with Donald Trump, was talking to Al Roker, and he was trying to justify what's the guy? What did I just say? The guy's name
Ryan
was
Lochte's
actions, saying he's just a kid. He's just a kid, and he's
God.
like, "Oh, come on, give him a break." And Ryan Lochte was in his early 30s.
Right. He's not just a kid.
And so now there's this one comedian, I listen to his podcast, and anytime like anyone like any adult does something stupid, no matter their age, he'll be like, he's just a kid. He'll be like 57.
Oh God, that's funny.
Like,
That's
but
great.
he's just a kid.
Right.
And they're always sort of like give him a break, and then it's always like, oh, it's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad you showed me this website though, because this is where a lot of my shout outs are about to start coming from.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great website. So big shout out to Lori Lakin Hutcherson for giving an outlet and shining more light on a lot of people who deserve to be told about. We deserve to hear these people's stories, and it's really great.
Yeah, I love that there's an outlet for that. I have one shout out, and it's about a man. I don't think. Yeah, he's unnamed. There is a man that was a runner that was running through a trail in northern Colorado.
I've heard about this. This is crazy.
On Monday, and he encountered a mountain lion, and he was attacked by that mountain lion. And he murdered the mountain lion with his bare hands by strangling it.
Yep.
A mountain lion, which I don't even comprehend how someone does this. And so,
and then he hiked to the nearest hospital.
Yes. So the unnamed man heard something behind him on the West Ridge Trail at Horsetooth Mountain open space in Fort Collins, and was attacked as he turned around. The mountain lion lunged at him, biting his face and wrist. Like, isn't it a wrap after that? Isn't that it?
He's lucky the thing didn't get him by the throat, because it would have been a wrap.
Yeah, for sure. According to according to the press release, the runner broke free from the cougar's powerful maw and defended himself, killing the wild cat as a result. Sorry, I distracted myself by saying that. The man was then able to get himself to a local hospital where he was treated for serious but non-life-threatening injuries. So I found this article a couple days ago, but last night, my friend Brad, who used to live in Fort Collins, texted me this article, and he said, we've hiked there before, don't you? And I was like, what? Brad used to live in Fort Collins, and he and I have hiked in that exact place.
Crazy.
And then he also said that he's hiked there another time, and he was with one of his friends, and their dog was there, and the dog started barking because it saw the mountain lion, and apparently the mountain lion was like following him, and then he said they got the heck out of there. I was like, dude, if it wasn't for that dog, that could have been you.
Right. Yeah.
Except Brad can't. I'm very curious to shake this man's hand. He'd probably lightly shake my hand and just break every bone in my hand.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think that's when the fight or flight response kicks in, and that guy probably knew there's no way you're outrunning a mountain lion.
That's the kind of guy I'd want around in like a terror situation or like some sort of like shooter situation. He seems like the guy that will just jump up and tackle the person.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Fuck it. I gotta save.
It's pretty crazy.
I'm not dying today.
I mean, that's why if I was running or hiking by myself, I think I would probably bring some type of knife with me just to be safe. If I'm with other people, I think, generally speaking, unless the mountain lion is really sick, it probably isn't going to attack you if you're with more than,
Oh, because it perceives that as outnumbered, even though it could probably still take. I'm still confused on how one man could kill a mountain lion.
Well,
with
it
his
wasn't.
bare hands.
I'm pretty sure I read an article about it, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't a full-grown mountain lion.
Okay,
so it's a younger one. I think they get up to, how big do they get? They only get up to a couple 100 pounds, I think. I mean,
Chad.
The thing about them is they're quick.
Chad's not intimidated.
Hold up, let me see here.
I'm looking it up.
The weight is, according to Google,
Chad's is like no big deal.
So yeah, about 53 to 100 kilograms, and that's a man. So up to 220 pounds max. I don't know. I weigh 185. Actually, I think I might weigh less than that now. I haven't weighed myself in a minute, but I feel like if it was a smaller one and you had that adrenaline going, maybe you could fight against it. Maybe.
I get what you're saying.
But yeah, it really depends. I mean, if they hit you in the right spot or if they knock you out cold, game over. For sure. But yeah, that's a crazy story.
My only thing is like, one, they have giant hands, like paws.
Right.
And two, if say you were to look at something like a chimpanzee, like what's the average size of a chimpanzee?
They're not that big.
And they can destroy a human. Like, they're shredded.
Oh, rip them to shreds.
They're just all muscle. So it's like, yeah, even though a mountain lion is only, is about as the size of the weight of a human. Like, it's just, I think they're just more concentrated muscle also.
Oh, probably. Definitely.
But I guess clearly you can do it. So why am I doubting that it can be done?
Right.
Because it was done.
It was done.
And the guy casually, I'm sure it wasn't casual. He was probably, what the hell? But then the guy walked to a hospital.
Right. So I got one more shout out, and then I think we should move on to the beer of the pod.
Okay.
My shout out goes out to the Gill brothers, and you might have seen this if you were scrolling through goodblacknews.org. The Gill brothers, they are aged 13, 10, and 8. They launched Frère Branchot. I think that's how you pronounce it. You're the French speaker here, not me.
Frère's right. That's brother.
Right, brother, and I don't know what the other word is, but Frère Branchot, an eco-friendly candle brand that's now featured in Macy's. So I think this is kind of a great story. They started their candle business for two reasons. One, which seems like such a reason that a kid would justify this, but one, to afford Nerf guns and video games they wanted, which I think is great. Hey, at least this is honest reporting. You got to appreciate it. And two,
great.
to help raise money to combat homelessness in the district where they live.
I mean, that's
Ryan,
awesome. And by the way, I laugh, but that's why adults make money, is to just buy adult toys. So
right, buy your adult Nerf guns.
It's like Ferraris, BMWs, and
Right.
all that shit. That's just adult toys.
Exactly. And so they donate 10% of their proceeds to homeless shelters in their area, and a promise they've kept since launching the brand 2 years ago. Demand has grown rapidly for their scented soy-based candles, which can be purchased at several stores in D.C. and select Macy's stores across the country. So I think a big shout-out is deserved for the Gill brothers for launching their brand of eco-friendly candles and helping out the homeless.
I wonder how they thought of that name. I guess it would probably help if we knew what it meant.
Right, that's true. I'm sure there's some meaning for it.
I can just translate it real quick while we're here. Get your beer of the pod ready. Well, that's Gill is what it. Branchot is Gill.
Oh,
and so it's just
sense.
French for Gill brothers.
Okay, nice.
That was
So,
easy.
Jared, this episode I have a special beer. Look at this bad
Chang.
boy.
Is that a Chinese beer?
Does the language look like Mandarin on the top?
No. What is that?
It's
That does not look
Thai.
like Mandarin. I did not see that.
It's Thai.
Oh, I see Thailand now.
Yep.
That's cool. How'd you find this beer?
Shout out to my local Lidl. I was walking around and I spent about 20 minutes just for all of you out there peeling off the sales sticker. Bless you.
Excuse me.
For this beer. It was in the sales section. I don't know why. I've never seen a beer from Thailand before, so I figured, you know what? Let's give this bad boy a try. So
Yeah.
So it's a lager, so it's like a lot of the Czech beers I've been drinking since I've been here. Good old lager beers. I feel like I've definitely developed a bit of a palate for them. Now, it's also important to mention this beer is only 330 milliliters, and most beers here in the Czech Republic are half a liter, which is what, 700 and something, I think?
750?
I think that's right. I think that's right.
Well, I actually have. I'm drinking my final coffee break right now, and it's a pint, and it's 473 milliliters. So there's the
Okay.
answer. 750 milliliters is a fifth.
Right. That's right. So yeah, so this is called Chang Lager Beer, product of Thailand.
Okay.
It is 5% alcohol by volume. Also, what I love about this is they have... Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a picture of this. Excuse me.
Our sickness is starting to gross me out.
Right? They have a bunch of languages here. They have Dutch, French. What would SK be? Slovakian, maybe? Hungary. So there's a ton of languages on here. And let me just really quick
I bet you.
picture of that.
You know, we would see this beer as an American and be like, wow, that beer is cheap in the Czech Republic. Imagine how cheap that beer would cost if you bought it in Thailand.
Exactly.
It would be like pennies on the dollar.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think I want to say I paid 15 crowns for it, so not even $1.
Damn. Six pack?
I think somewhere around there. No, just one.
Oh,
Just
okay.
one.
Okay.
But right here, what's interesting is it has the ingredients, and the ingredients are water, malted barley, hops, and what do you think the last ingredient is?
Is it something that used in Thailand? Paprika? I don't know. Not paprika. Like chili.
Rice.
Chili. Rice. Oh.
Rice. Yes. Please drink responsibly, it says. We will try our best to do that. And yeah. So it
Try our best.
That's right. So yeah, so product of Thailand. Let's actually try this bad boy. I've been talking about it now. So it has a nice kind of light yellow hue to it.
Yes.
I hate to say this, but it looks color-wise, it looks kind of like what
I
a
know where you're going.
Budweiser would probably look. No,
They're gonna say pee.
I mean, I guess that as well. It's definitely lighter than most of the lagers I've had here in the Czech Republic. My nose is a little stuffed, but maybe I can smell some of it. We'll see.
The lightness probably suits a Thai beer because it's
it could be
humid as hell in Thailand, so it's probably nice to have that that light beer.
Right,
it's very hot and humid there.
Right. So from what I could tell from my slightly congested nose, I mean this smells like, once again, I think the color does it justice as well as the smell. It definitely seems to have some lightness to it, but I'm gonna give it a quick sip and we'll find out. Ooh, that's good. I like that.
Oh, really?
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. I told Jared earlier today, because we're both coming down with colds or getting over colds, one or the other. I said, hey, do you have a beer of the pod? I don't really want to drink a beer, but I might end up drinking this whole thing. It's pretty tasty. Not going to lie to you. It has a different aftertaste than most lagers, and I'm assuming that's probably because of the rice, would be my guess.
Right. I mean, that would be a good guess because that's probably the one ingredient that's different than most of the normal lagers.
And
Czech
it has
style lagers you've had.
It has a much softer aftertaste to it, if that makes sense. It's a little bit sweeter. But it also is not it's not it when I say sweeter, I don't mean that the taste itself is sweet. There's just not really any bitterness to it.
I got you.
But it's really good. If Lidl continues to carry this, I might have to buy some more of these bad boys.
Wow, that's cool. I'm not sure why, but something about that color just led me to not expect much from it.
Yeah, it's good. And I would say this, like you said, this would for sure be a great beer if it's hot and humid outside.
Yeah.
I would drink this bad boy all day long.
Did you mention what the alcohol content was?
5% by volume.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.
No, definitely not. And what caught my eye about it was the little tie up on the logo up there. I saw that immediately, and that's what caught my eye because I was.
Can you recognize that that's Thai?
Kind of. I have a friend from graduate school, excuse me, who taught English in Thailand for a few years, and he would come over. We would play music together and hang out.
What did he play?
Guitar. Fantastic guitar player. Really, really good. And one night I was asking him about Thailand, and he was like, well, here, let me show you the alphabet. And he was showing it to me and trying to explain it. It was crazy. And the interesting thing about the Thai language, I think there's a lot of languages like this, English is just not one of them, is that the way you address people is different based on their gender. And that's the same with the Czech Republic. So if I were to ask you, Jared, do you like beer? I would say máš rád pivo, because you're a man. If I was talking to your sister, I would say máš ráda pivo, because she's a girl. And in Thai, they have a similar thing where the endings, I think, change. I don't know if it's the verbs or what it is. But yeah, so big shout out to my buddy Ian. He's the one who was showing me the Thai alphabet. And I'll have to ask him about this. I forgot to message him, and I'm curious to see what his thoughts are, because he's actually lived in Thailand. So maybe in Thailand they don't drink this beer. I have no idea. But saw it at Lidl. Looked interesting. I also like the two elephants on the logo as well.
I like the logo.
It's a cool looking beer can. So yeah.
Is gender like a thing that gets discussed in the Czech Republic a lot? Because I wonder how stuff like that would fly here in the United States these days.
Well, I think something like that is such an ingrained part of the culture. The fact that they've been saying this for hundreds of years, I don't think they really think too much about
like the
it.
N-word.
I think that's a slightly different conundrum. But the thing I have noticed here, and I'd love to hear from our Czech listeners out there. Well, I only have a few of my students who I know listen that have actually been to the States. But I think here in the Czech Republic, things do tend to be a little bit more gendered. And what I mean by that is I've heard from people, oh, don't do that. That's a thing women do. Or, oh, don't do that. That's a thing men do.
Or like the dark and light beers.
Right, exactly. Like I've been told, and I don't think this is really true because I've seen a lot of women drinking light beers, and no one, at least I've never thought anything of it. But when I first came here, I forget who told me, but somebody in Prague told me that generally women drink the light beers, or sorry, the dark beers because they're sweeter, and the men tend to drink the light beers. I've actually in practice seen the exact opposite. I don't see that many people drink dark beers, at least the region where I live in. I don't see a lot of it. And
they don't seem that appealing to me unless it's a Gemischung.
Right.
Which is a mixture in German.
Exactly.
Sorry, I don't know why I did that.
Right.
I was trying to think of how you'd say the mixture in Czech for the when you do the kozal.
Oh, and I used to know this word too. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts.
You told it to me when you drank it.
Right. Oh man, what was it? This is going to drive me crazy. Hold up. We got to consult.
Man.
We got to consult
I'm sorry
Google.
For bringing this up.
You're good. But yeah, I think it's just different in terms of I think culturally what's appropriate and acceptable. Smies? I don't think that's what I said, but anyways, so it's a little different here in the Czech Republic than in the States. I don't think there is the number of people.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. I don't think there's the same number of people here who are like there are trans people in the Czech Republic, but I don't think they have nearly as many trans people as we do in the States. And I also don't
openly.
It seems like I haven't come into contact with that many gay people who are out of the closet in my region, probably just because there's not that many people. But I do know there is, like they have a pride parade in Prague, and I don't think there's any issues with that. But yeah. Anyways, though, Jared, that might be an interesting thing to discuss in a later episode. Talk about gender roles in different countries and cultures. That would be really interesting. But I think, do you happen to have the time by any chance?
Oh, let me check. Oh, there we go. Oh, had to get it going a little bit. That is
Mind
the
if I get us started,
owl.
Jared?
Sure, but first let me just say the untranslatables are idioms, sayings, or things that we just hear from people we know that don't really make sense if you translate them directly, but make perfect sense once you understand what they are. Usually,
exactly. So I'm going to start out. It's funny you mention we hear this from people we know. I heard this one today in my office while I was waiting in between classes to go teach. So shout out to one of my colleagues. And this untranslatable it's Czech, and it is Házet perly sviním, which means throwing pearls to swine.
It's like it's almost like what we're doing with this podcast. You're giving something to people that don't deserve it.
Exactly. 100%. Perfect. Didn't we do a similar one? It was in a different language, but didn't we have a similar untranslatable like that?
Probably. I can't think of what it is right now, but probably. That one almost sounds like, the one you said almost sounds like something a dictator would say or something.
That's true.
I'm throwing pills at you swine, and still you don't respect me. My first one is Amharic, and I believe it's spoken, let me check, I forgot now. I believe it's spoken in, let me just check. I don't want to mess it up. It's spoken in Ethiopia. And the phrase is Ejini Bachanin na. Oh, that's it.
Okay.
They have a very interesting alphabet as well. I put it next to it. It is very interesting. It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Oh, nice.
And that literally translates to oldness, please come alone.
Oh, interesting. Oldness, please come alone. Please come alone. So does this mean like you don't want to, you just want to age. You don't want to age and have health problems and money problems. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's essentially, it's aging gracefully. It's like, I want to age
Like a
without
fine wine.
illnesses, without any problems.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to age in just that. I don't need all the other stuff that people claim come with that.
Right. Makes sense. I have one more for you.
Unlike us, we're sickly right now, and
That's true.
age is not coming alone.
That's true. Let's hope it will in the near future, though.
Yes.
So my last one for you today is Bantu, which is an African language they speak, I believe, near Congo. It's pretty widespread, I believe. It's not only the Congo, also I believe in some parts of Kenya, but I could be wrong. Also, as a side note, we should also do an episode, I think, on African languages.
Okay.
I think that it might be difficult. I think we should probably ask for an expert to come on our show and educate us.
Do
But I
you
think
know
that would be-
any? Do you know anyone from Africa and Michigan that we could talk to?
I'll have to look and see.
You're the one that was
have a
in
couple-
the international department.
Right. I have a couple contacts. I don't know if they're still in the States, but I'll have to find out, and we'll have to see.
All right. All right.
Either way, though, this one is Bantu, and the word is, I believe it's pronounced Ilunga. And Ilunga, Jared, because it's one word, let me give you an example, okay?
Okay.
So, say you have a friend, and
This is already not believable.
say I have a friend, and I want to go do something with my friend, and then they betray me, or actually maybe this is a better one. Say you're dating somebody, guy or a girl, and the person you're dating either physically or emotionally mistreats you, right?
Okay.
So you're like, all right, well, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, right? Then a week later, it happens again. And you're like, all right, nobody's perfect. Maybe they're having a bad day. And then they do it again, and you end up leaving. You're like, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this anymore. What do you think Ilunga means?
Is it similar to the English untranslatable "fool me once, shame on you"? "Fool me twice, shame on me"?
Kind
Or
of.
as George Bush would say, "Fool me once, fool me, you won't get fooled again."
Right. So basically, Ilunga is Bantu for a person who's willing to forgive abuse the first time, tolerate it the second, but never allow it or tolerate it a third time.
All right. So it is similar to that, except the people, the Bantu speakers give one more chance than us English speakers.
Right. Well, right here, actually, Jared, the English equivalent would really be maybe 3 strikes and you're out.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But what's interesting about this untranslatable, Jared, in 2004, this word won the award for the world's most difficult to translate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So pretty, and a lot of this has to do with marriage, unfortunately. Either with not even always physical abuse, but also infidelity. So
Right.
we have tolerance within reason. We have gradations of tolerance, but we all have our limit.
Listen,
So-
you can beat me, but now that you're closing the fist, this is too far. That's
Right.
terrible.
So it's an interesting word. Anyways, what other untranslatables do you got for me?
I have 2 more, but I'll only do 1 more. I'll save the other one for next time. One of them is, and it's Hausa, which is a language spoken in Nigeria and Niger. And the untranslatable is Talasba Tarasa Dakin Kwana. And it literally translates to compulsion does not lack a house to sleep in.
Compulsion?
Compulsion? Did I say compulsion?
Yeah.
Is that wrong? The wrong way to say it?
Compulsion. Now I'm not
Compulsion
sure.
does not lack a house to sleep in.
I don't even know where to begin with this one. Can you give me an example?
Sometimes, so once say there's an apocalypse, and people always say, let's put it this way, people always ask if you're in a plane crash and you're on a stranded island, how long would it take you to eat someone? And some people would be like, "Ooh, gross! I would never do that." And some other people would be like, "Listen, bro, compulsion does not lack a house to sleep in. If I'm hungry enough, I'm eating that motherfucker."
So it's you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Necessity knows no law. So it's just saying that, you know, if you're compelled to do something, then it'll happen.
How long do you think you'd last? Would you eat somebody if you were stranded on a deserted island?
See, probably, but it's hard for me to. Well, I'm not going to kill someone. I wouldn't kill the person to eat them, unless they're getting on my nerves. But maybe I would if they. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, though, is it's easier for me to say no now,
right?
But I've never been anywhere close to in a
right.
situation like that. I feel like
it's tricky.
If say we were both alive and then just a person happened to die before no, that's so gross.
Right. It is gross. It's hard to say.
I would struggle with it, but I might, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I'm so squeamish too. Like I'm not even good with
me either. I can't
like
do
gory
blood.
movies.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
It'd be bad.
I can't imagine filleting up my friend.
Right. That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so I don't know.
Well, Jared, I think it's time we touch on our major topic for today, which is Black History Month. So can you explain to our listeners, more so our listeners around the globe, what is it? Why do we have it? All that good stuff.
I'll say that Black History Month was created in the precursor to Black History Month was created in 1926 and it was originally called Negro History Week, which is hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious.
Week.
Yeah, they can fit it all in a week.
Good.
That's more than enough time.
Oh, geez, that's
in a week,
horrible.
I guess, really is 5 days. Let's be honest. We're not They don't count the weekends.
We're at home. We can't. Yeah. Oh, that's terrible.
This week was chosen because it coincided with the birthday of Abraham Lincoln on February 12th and of Frederick Douglass on February 14th, both of which dates Black communities had celebrated since the late 19th century. And then later, it turned into we got the entire month of February, which, by the way, shortest month of the year. So one thing I'll say just to start off is, I don't think Black History Month should be a thing, but it has to be a thing. Mm-hmm. Black History Month is just American history to me. I don't understand how, I understand how, but I think it's a grave injustice that Black history somehow got separated from the history of America.
I agree.
Most Black people were here longer than most quote unquote, or not quote unquote, than most Americans. There's so many Americans that have come here from migration, whether it's Europe or any country, that it's so funny how Black history has been separated and has to be focused on like this. It should be in history books because Black people built this country. Anyway,
I agree.
There's a quote that I always think of from a rapper named J. Cole, and he said this: "When think about the men that are controlling the pen, that write history, they always seem to white out their sins." And that's something that is why I think Black History Month is important, because we have to So now you're making. Now I was about to sneeze. Oh God! Now I have to sneeze.
It's all right. Sneeze it out. The glories of recording a podcast when you're coming down with something.
Is that we have to almost force it upon people because so many people, white people, are afraid to also acknowledge the history of their ancestors. There's a shame involved in it. Where it's well, I didn't own slaves. It's well, why do we have to? And it's just like this downplaying of the reality of it for people's feelings.
Right, and I think the other problem with the whole white people narrative of, oh well, my family's innocent. I didn't know slaves, but it's okay, maybe they didn't, but you could do something about it now. If you just choose to be complacent or ignore it or whatever, you're just making it worse. You're not helping things.
Also, it's a lack of acknowledgement that the fact that we did have slavery still plays a role in today's culture and laws.
100%
in the U.S.
Absolutely.
And it plays a major role in things like like the just say what's the like the 3 strikes rule, or like the stop and frisk, or
Right. Yeah.
what was that just say no to drugs that Nancy Reagan
Yep.
all that stuff it's all like started with slavery and even like equating certain drugs to black people and all this stuff, and
Right.
it's just a lack of, and I understand why it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about.
Sure.
But it's funny to think that like it's uncomfortable for the white people to talk about, but it's like, I mean, the black people were the slaves. Like, how do you think like they feel?
Right.
Like wanting people to like, how do you think like people today feel when you just erase or disregard this history and people's history?
Right.
It's very rude.
And it's a hard topic to grapple with, but I think it's worth taking the time and having those difficult discussions about it. Because there's a lot of people out there who are just very unaware. They live happily in their own little bubbles, and they don't really care to, hear other people's stories and try to understand where they're coming from. And I think that's one of the good things about Black History Month, is to try to shed light upon some of these stories to help different people understand what's going on, what were and what are the struggles of a lot of Black Americans out there. And I think what's interesting after, I've been in Europe now for 5 months, and I think a lot of Europeans, it's difficult for them to grasp the complexities of racism and just our history in the United States, because they're removed from it in a lot of ways. There are some European countries that invaded Africa, had slaves, but it wasn't to the same level as the United States.
No, it really wasn't. Like it really is the one of the foundations of America. I mean, slavery is literally what built America,
especially the South.
Yeah. But I think that's also a common misnomer as well. It's like slaves were everywhere, by the way. Like, but I think the South fought for it longer. Like once. But so I think that's why Black History Month is still important, even though every time like we hear about it, it's always sort of like I don't know, it always just bums me out that we need like a month. By the way, this Black History Month has been quite the Black History Month. I feel like there's been like people. What's been going on with Liam Neeson? By the way, do you know what's up with that?
Yeah, I think he said something about he wanted to kill a guy because of his skin color. I don't know if the guy was black or what he was, but either way, that's just fucked up on a whole lot of levels.
Okay, and then there was the politician that was doing the blackface.
There's been a couple politicians that have like.
There was a teacher that was doing the blackface as well, wasn't there?
Why? I just don't understand why you would ever think it's funny to do blackface, especially with like the historical connotations of it.
Right.
And at the same time,
that kind of goes along with people saying, "Why can't I say the N-word?" Where it's like, well, look how it's historically been used, and
right.
That's probably why people are so sensitive to that stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, it was used to dehumanize, disenfranchise, oppress. And what I think is really funny. Oh shoot, I forget who it was. But this guy, oh shoot, that's gonna really.
It was
bother
also
me.
during it. While you're thinking of it, the whole blackface thing was also during a time where they wouldn't allow black people to act, yet the white people would, put on this blackface and do this exaggerated buffoonery form of a black person, and it's just the irony of like, we're not going to let you even be on this, but we're gonna decide what you like, who you guys are, and that's that sort of stuff still prevails, I would say.
Right. What's the? Oh, he's like an African American scholar. And he gave this talk about why white people shouldn't say the N-word. And he basically said, if you think about all of the things historically in the United States that black people were excluded from, he basically, I think the moral of his talk was, I think you guys can handle not being allowed to do or say one thing.
Right. I was at Ta-Nehisi Coates. Is that what you're talking about?
That's it.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Parada.
Yeah, no, I actually should have played
Hezký
this one.
kluk.
Both are good, though.
It's like I changed my mind. Yeah, no, that I remember seeing that now. Here's another thing about Black History Month is I remember when I was it was so awkward when I was in elementary school mostly, and even in middle school a little bit, and even a little bit when I lived in Germany, being like one of the few black people and having to like any sort of time there's some sort of question, like everyone, like even the teacher will like ask me.
Look at you, yeah.
And I was just like, I am a 10-year-old child. It's like I was like
Right.
I am not, or even when I was 12 or 13, it's like I'm not the arbiter of blackness. It's like I barely understand it myself. You're the teacher. Teach me.
Exactly.
And it was so uncomfortable.
I mean, I
my
get that.
God.
I get that on a different level for the United States now.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I'm
Being
totally
like
the arbiter.
spokesperson.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Whether I want to or not, but yeah, and I think that's something too that I think a lot of people need to be more aware of, regardless of if it's your race, your religion, or whatever. I think a lot of people tend to do that, where they're like they have that one Muslim friend, and they'll ask them everything about Islam, or they'll have that one black friend or that one Asian friend, and then they ask them. What I find even worse is when, especially in regards to when you have an Asian friend, is if they're like from China, and you start asking them questions about Japan or South Korea or something.
Right.
And it's like, how ignorant can you be? Come on now.
Bert Kreischer, the comedian, said for the longest time he thought they all spoke the same language, like the
Right.
Japan, Korea, and China all spoke the same language, or at least could understand each other's languages. I think that's what he
Right.
said.
Yeah.
I was at a Wawa yesterday after piano, and there was and the guy at behind the counter called me brother.
Was he a white guy or a black guy?
He was Indian guy.
Oh, interesting.
I was sort of taken aback, but I was like, I can't assume fully that this is some BS. But I was like, all right, I can't imagine you ever saying that to anyone. I don't even
Right.
say that to anyone, brother.
Right.
What is this, the 70s?
Right.
What do you remember? What do you remember Black History Month to be like in your high school?
Oh man, that's a really good question. You're making me dig deep right here. In high school, what did we do? I know we
Blackface?
talked a lot. not quite. I know we would obviously talk a lot about the civil rights movement.
And the same four people: Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King,
exactly.
Malcolm X,
Yep.
Harriet Tubman.
Right, exactly. To be honest, man, I'm not coming up with much right now because I think a lot of it was kind of the same stuff recycled and revamped every year, but I could be wrong.
I think that's kind of the answer I was expecting. Like that's what I was hoping for at all, but that's what I was expecting because I think that's how. Honestly, that's the same with me. And sometimes I could figure this out on my own, but sometimes I feel like I should do some more personal research, and it would behoove me to know more about my own, my own quote unquote people's history.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm also woefully undereducated on this stuff.
Right. Oh, I 100% am for sure. But yeah, and I think the other problem, like you mentioned earlier when we were talking about this, the fact that it's seen almost as a separate part of American history when, and I think that in a weird way also kind of has racist undertones. Would you agree with me?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like it's separated from just your standard history. Like why is there a Black history section in like a history book, or you have to focus on, or it's like these black people were intertwined within the history for the entire time that the United States has existed.
Right.
So why don't you just tell the history as it is and tell the stories of these presidents and include all the heinous shit that the presidents like Jefferson and
Right.
all that stuff did back then. Like include that because that's part of history, and I think we're doing a total disservice to just. Especially when we, for example, talk about some of these presidents, to just like teach about them in a vacuum and just about all the great things they did as leaders and all this stuff, where it's like, it's not even that it's. I mean, it is important to know, but it's like you're not even telling the full story of these people.
Right. Not at all. I think I agree with you. I think one of the problems is it's hard. Sorry. It's hard to pack all of that into a lesson. Not saying that they shouldn't.
That's true.
But it's hard to always tell the full story.
But I still think it's more that that curriculums are mostly made by white people, and they don't want to talk about it or face it.
Right. I had a social studies
teacher. Because it makes them look
teacher.
shitty.
Right. Sure. Well, I had a social studies teacher that used to teach in the inner city in Detroit, and he was saying how a lot of the standardized tests are written for white people. He said, you know, even the basic examples you see on an SAT, they're not written for minorities and people of color. You know, even if it's a simple, you know, I don't know, Johnny is at Thanksgiving and blah, blah, blah. You know, like we talked about on our Thanksgiving episode, you know, people from different cultures and different races, religions, whatever, tend to have different customs, you know? So I thought that was really interesting, but I agree with you. But I think instead of, although it's important to mention all of these negative things, I think we should commemorate some very important people.
For sure.
And the first one I would like to start with is Angela Davis.
Okay. Powerful afro.
Right, and powerful woman in general. So Angela Davis, for all of you out there who don't know who she is.
Still alive, too, I believe, isn't she?
Yeah. She was born in 1944, still alive. She's in her 70s.
Okay.
But
she's not even that old.
She has worked as a political activist, a scholar, an educator, an author, and she was a very, very important and influential member of the counterculture movement of the 60s, and she was also a former member of the Black Panther Party and also the Communist Party. And what I really think is commendable about Angela Davis, she was sent to prison, but even after being sent to prison, she still spoke her... Exactly. She persevered.
I don't even think she skipped a beat. I think she was speaking like as soon as she got out of prison. Like she just kept going. She's full gangster. She's a great speaker too. I've listened to a couple of her speeches, and she's just the way she talks is very captivating.
Oh, she's a brilliant woman. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's the first person that I wanted to commemorate. Who do you have, Jared?
Who do I have? I don't realize we were going to go back and forth like that.
I can do another one. That's all right.
Okay.
Well, the next.
Well, actually, I have an idea.
Okay.
So I want to, because I had a list of future Black history icons. So we can go back and forth.
Nice.
You give me some historical figures, and I'll give you some ones that I think will be future Black history icons.
All right.
Number one, obviously Barack Obama.
Oh, for sure.
First Black president.
Without a doubt.
No scandals except for that tan suit.
Which he looked pretty good in that suit, not going to lie. He could pull it off. I think not only Barack, but also Michelle. I think both of them are very notable, intelligent, eloquent. They seem like very amazing people.
Yeah, and Michelle, it seems even post-presidency, it seems like Michelle Obama's been even more active and more out there. And it's probably easier now that she's freer. But yeah, it's for sure both of them.
Right. And I want to give there's three musicians that I think have shaped the way we view blues and rock music. There's more than three, but I want to talk about just very quickly the Three Kings. Do you know who they are?
Jimi Hendrix?
B.B. King.
You meant literal last name King.
B.B. King is one of them.
B.B. King, I don't know.
Freddie King.
I don't know who Freddie King is.
Check his music out. They call him the Texas Cannonball. B.B. King, Freddie King, and Albert King.
I don't know who Albert King is either.
You gotta check him out as well.
But this is right in your wheelhouse right here.
It is. And the reason why the Three Kings in terms of blues music are so important is it also laid the foreground for rock music. I think in a lot of ways also for pop music, a lot of other genres, soul music, gospel music. And not only were they just absolutely fantastic musicians, sadly Albert King and Freddie King I think died fairly early, but I think B.B. King also gave back to the community quite a bit, which I think is really fantastic. Another big artist that gave a lot to the black community, of course, is the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, rest in peace. For sure. And she was also, she was a very outspoken activist as well. Mm-hmm. And she was from Detroit also.
Yep.
Reppin' Michigan. So she was a great, definitely a very powerful voice in the community. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a modern day one. Beyonce. I think she's going to be talked about for a long time.
Do you think Jay-Z will be as well?
I think it's different. I think Jay-Z is a legend in the hip hop game. And I think maybe yes. Because they both are known for, I think I'll say them as a duo. Okay. Because I just think Beyonce, her for some reason hers, like she just seems like she's bigger than Jay-Z ever was, and just the way that she's curated her life and just can like put out, I think is very impressive. And they have also done donated millions for philanthropy,
right?
And I think that as far as musicians go, modern day ones, she's going to be talked about for a long time. I'm trying to think of another modern day musician. Black musician that I think is...
I have one, but we're going to wait because it'll be a good transition.
Oh, okay.
We're going to wait. We'll wait on that.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah. Modern day. I'd like to think of a couple modern day ones as well, just because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Like, who's really changing the game these days? And it's not just music, though.
Oh, shoot. What's the name of the director of Black Panther?
Ryan Coogler?
I think maybe he might be a notable one as well.
I would say if you're going to throw him in there, I would throw in people like Ava DuVernay. Ava DuVernay. She's a writer and a producer, and she's produced a lot of very popular black shows.
Okay.
Also, I have on my list, if we're just going to entertainers in general, I have also on my list is Oprah.
Oh yeah, of course.
She is her own media conglomerate at this point,
right?
And so she's definitely she's going to be an icon for a long, long time. I think also. Now there's one I wonder if you're going to mention. I don't want to step on your toes, but the reason I bring this up is because I want to bring up some athletes that I think will be
okay.
So I can think of a couple athletes that I think are historical figures.
Current athletes, or previous?
No,
previous.
I can think of yeah. I have current ones too.
Well, the previous ones I would say for sure would be Jesse Owens.
Yeah,
the track star.
Who else was he standing with? I can't remember the other guy's name. There was another guy. Jesse Owens was the first place one,
right?
But there was someone else. I can't remember the guy. I'm looking it up right
now. Me either. That was really controversial, right? They were the ones that did like the fist.
Yeah, because it was the one where Hitler was there, the Olympics where Hitler was there, and he didn't want any black people there.
Right.
And then they ended up
smoked the competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so badass on so many levels. You know what's also crazy about that story? Hitler actually, not that I'm advocating for Hitler by any means, but Hitler actually, according to what I've read, Hitler actually shook his hand when Jesse Owens got back to the States. The president wouldn't shake his hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, right?
So, yeah, what was like the president like embarrassed by the
I have no idea.
Gosh. That's okay, well, Jesse Owens, I can't find the other dude's name.
It's another problem with the way we're taught about history. We know the first place guy, but we don't know the second place guy. While you're looking, though, some other athletes.
The famous picture was actually just there was another one, but the famous picture was actually just him. Now that I see it, I got it confused with a different picture.
Okay.
And next to Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So
Do you have another athlete?
Yeah, another
But there is a
athlete.
picture of Jesse Owens doing a salute, and right next to him, there's a German doing the Nazi Heil Hitler.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Let's see here. Another athlete. Oh, dude. Hank Aaron, baseball player.
Who's that?
You
I know the name, but I don't know what he did. I was going to say
until
Jesse.
Barry Bonds, he had the record of the most home runs.
Right.
But before him, oh, now I'm blanking on his name. Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson, very, very important. The first African-American player to play in the major leagues, because back then they had a split league. And I'm really curious.
The Negro Leagues.
Exactly. I would like to go back in time and watch both games. I would be willing to bet
the Negro Leagues were probably way better.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Shittier equipment and way better game.
For sure.
Well, I have some modern day future Black history icons, athlete wise. Obviously, we just had the Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick is a big one.
Right.
He was merely kneeling on the side trying to protest police brutality and police essentially just going unchecked for a lot of the brutality that's been going on.
Right.
And he got pushed out of the league because of it. And you know, it's so funny too because people always try to bring up things like, it's so annoying to me when people bring up Martin Luther King in the sense of like how you're supposed to protest, because one, that's kind of how, I mean, Colin Kaepernick was honestly quieter than Martin Luther King, and what they also don't bring up is Martin Luther King got shot, by the way.
Right.
So why, like, you guys keep bringing him up like he did it right, but he got killed.
He's dead.
So,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He was.
I'm not saying he did it
assassinated.
wrong, but it's just so funny that you're telling people to do that, and it's like, okay. Another modern day one. Serena Williams.
Oh, for sure. I would say Serena and Venus. I would say both of them push the envelope.
Yeah, that's
for the
not fair
tennis
that I
game.
forgot about Venus because she's older. She's not as popular these days. But that's very true because they are killers. They are the leaders in a sport that clearly doesn't really want them there. And evidence in the fact that one, Sharapova makes more money than Venus does, like with advertisements and stuff, which is ridiculous. But also just the way that they're portrayed in comparison to their counterparts, is ridiculous. And in spite of that, they still kill it. And Serena is great too because she's so like defiant that whenever the people tell her not to do something, she finds a way to subtly burn them and be like, well,
shade.
Yeah. I love that.
Me too. A previous one that I think is also worth mentioning, of course, Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay.
Yes.
Very important.
Another one that people canonized today and love, but people hated him back then.
Oh, they did. Well, there's a quote I was actually reading it the other day. He had a quote that he said, you know, I'm not going to go, this was during the Vietnam War. He said, I'm not going to go abroad and fight the Viet Cong. They're not my enemy. You're my enemy. I'll die here fighting for my life, not going to go abroad and kill a bunch of other innocent minorities that you want me to kill, basically. And I know they stripped him of his titles for a while, and he was in prison for a while because he was a conscientious objector. And so I think that the thing that strikes me so much with a lot of these icons is their level of perseverance and strength. And I think they're also, a lot of them are very outspoken. They're very intelligent. And I think these people are people we should all aspire to be regardless of race, religion, or creed, you know?
I have one more. I agree with you. That was well said. LeBron James as well.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously, once again, a dominant athlete, but has done so much for giving back to communities and building schools and whatnot.
Right.
And it seems like he's just getting started. So.
Oh, I agree. 100%. I'm trying to think of any other ones. I mean, I could ramble on for hours about all the amazing black musicians out there. I mean, jazz musicians, blues musicians, soul, R&B, hip-hop.
Well, I mean, the black musicians kind of shaped modern day pop music in general. So.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. The last one that I think is worth mentioning, I mean, and we really probably should have spent more time commemorating and mentioning more. Maybe we can do that on another episode in the near future. But another very important one that I think we can't leave out is Frederick Douglass.
Yes. Yeah. The only reason I didn't bring him up is because he tends to be one of the...
That's true.
One of the go-tos. But yeah, he's a very famous... I guess people call him abolitionist, and he was kind of. I mean, he was an abolitionist. I think I had. This kind of goes along with. I mean, yeah, he was an abolitionist, but most black people didn't want slavery. That's all it means.
Right.
I look at him more as like a philosopher and like a.
I would agree.
Because abolitionist is just someone that doesn't want slavery, and that's not really your title. That's just like, yeah, that's probably. 95% of the black people, or 98% of the black people back then were abolitionists.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, yeah, I think he's more well-known, obviously, for being an author, and an absolutely fantastic author at that. Once again, perseverance, intelligence, these are all traits that I think we see in a lot of these really amazing individuals. So yeah.
I just want to name two more people that I think will be modern day sort of, and these are writers, since you brought up writers.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, who we mentioned before.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And a guy named James Baldwin, who he's passed away, but he passed away in 1987. So I'd still say that's, a little modern for the history
I'd say
books.
So. Yeah. And
he is a very famous writer, and he writes about, I believe he wrote... Oh no! Excuse me. The film "I Am Not Your Negro" is adopted from one of his works.
Right. So I have two more left. My first one is a previous one that I think is safe to say he is definitely in the annals of history.
Annals
is my man Jimi Hendrix. I mean,
yeah,
one of the greatest, hands down, one of the greatest guitar players and musicians ever out there. I think another thing that's really amazing about Jimi Hendrix is, obviously, everyone talks about his guitar playing, which is for good reason. But I really love the lyrics he wrote. He wrote a lot of really interesting, captivating, really creative and beautiful lyrics that are very poetic. Like if you
very emotional.
Exactly. Like check out the songs "Castles Made of Sand" or "Axis Bold as Love." So many great songs by him. And my modern day guitarist and musician leads us to our song of the pod today. No other than Gary Clark Jr., who is a blues, soul, rock, R&B. I mean, he can do so many things. It's hard to put him in a genre. But he is an amazing musician from Texas. And his album came out recently. And I know we usually try to pick music in either a foreign language or from another country, but this song just seems so fitting for our episode today, which is why we picked it. So the song is called "This Land" by Gary Clark Jr. And I'm really curious, Jared. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's a powerful song. One thing I'm familiar with Gary Clark Jr. I've heard a couple of his songs, but I did buy that album though. I did get the album, and I've been listening to it. But so I'm familiar with him, but I haven't listened to a lot of his stuff until recently. But you can clearly hear the and this is no shade or anything, but you can clearly hear that Jimi Hendrix influence in his guitar playing.
Right.
It's just you can just hear the influence. But I love Jimi Hendrix, so I'm not complaining.
Right.
And also, it's a very interesting sound too, because he adds. It's not purely like the sort of like, even though he's a sort of a one of those classical rock, not classical rock, but I mean like one of those like rock guitarists where it's just hard, sort of like, and a lot of sort of freestyle-esque playing, like Jimi Hendrix.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's also like electronic elements to it, where the beat is not fully just a band. There are electronic elements to it, and I just like that sort of modernized take on blues.
Oh, definitely.
And the lyrics. Can you pull up the lyrics, or I can pull them up if you want?
Can you pull them up?
Right, there's a lot of N-words in there. I'll pull it up.
And while you're pulling it up, I just want to mention, the amazing thing about this song is that, first of all, in terms of just raw feel for guitar playing, I think Gary Clark Jr. is one of the best. You know,
Yes.
I wouldn't peg him as the most technically proficient guitar player, but to me, he seems like one of the few guitarists out there nowadays that can really play with a lot of emotion, a lot of feel, and get the audience to feel that too. I think there's so many guitarists out there who are so concentrated on being flashy or playing fast or whatever. And I think a lot of times less notes is more, and he really knows the right notes to play.
As my piano teacher always says, it's not about what you're playing, it's about how you're playing it, and adding,
absolutely.
as she calls it, adding line to music. And I think, a lot of famous sort of musicians these days seem like they're not looking at music, but they kind of play it like they're looking at music almost.
Right.
And his seems way more raw. And so the song is all about. He's from the South. He's from Texas, I believe.
Yep. From Austin.
So the song is all about how he's not welcome in his own land, and how people tell him to go back to his own country, but he is in his own country because his people built this country. And this is, America. Essentially, it was a very, and that's also what I love about it too, is that it's a very pro-American song, but a lot of say country people would find offense to this song.
Right.
Especially Southerners. So I can just read a little bit of the lyrics real quick.
Absolutely.
About to sneeze.
Bless you. I love the line where he says, "Fuck you, I'm America's son," which I agree.
Well, it is so funny when I mean, that's a very common sort of rhetoric with super racist right-wing people, is go back to your country or go back where you came from.
Which is ironic because they need to go back to Europe.
Right, where it's like, first of all, your great-grandmother is Italian and your other grandmother is German.
Right.
It's like, we've been here for hundreds of years longer than you have.
Right.
And also, the country that is now our country, we were brought here forcibly. Like, we were forced to come here. And we were forced to adopt the American culture, and that's why Listen, slipping on gator. I'm going to say it. That's why black people adopted Christianity, is because of slavery and because of whiteness, which is why I struggle to even. I wish I got to ask my parents about that. It's like, how do you feel about the fact that? But that's a weird thing to bring up with my
at the dinner table
family. That you guys are that this is a slave religion you're following right now. But yeah. It's just the level of ignorance is so funny, saying go back to where you come from or go back to, it's like my entire family has been here for hundreds of years. Right. Because we were forced to come here. So I'll just read a little bit of the lyrics. Paranoid and pissed off. Now that I got the money, 50 acres and a Model A, which is an old car, right in the middle of Trump country. I told you there goes a neighborhood. Now, Mr. Williams ain't so funny. I see you looking out your window. Can't wait to call the police on me. Well, I know you think I'm up to something. I'm just eating. Now we're still hungry. And this is mine now legit. I ain't leaving, and you can't take it from me. I remember when you used to tell me, nigga run, go back where you came from. That's the chorus.
That's the hook, yeah.
Oh, the hook, excuse me.
I mean, the chorus as well, but yeah.
Up till the sun comes up, and I can't start grinding. And okay, so yeah, there's just more of that, but it's just a very like American. Oh yeah, and I'll read the area where it says, "Go back where you come from. We don't want you. We don't want your kind. We think you's a dog born. Well, fuck you, I'm America's son. This is where I come from."
So I've got to ask, Jared, I feel like, especially in that beginning verse, I mean, those are probably lines that a lot of black people have heard from white people, right?
Yeah, probably.
Or
yeah.
like, I could...
Or sentiments that they felt.
Exactly. Like, oh, there goes the neighborhood. We have the,
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or, yeah. Yeah, this song is just, to me, it's so powerful, you know?
And I love that. What I love a lot about this song is like conservatives and right wing people have taken over and they're the only ones that can be patriotic or that can be Americans or that can like love this country. It's like, oh, love it or leave it. It's like these liberals hate America and all that stuff. And it's like it's like what makes you quote unquote more American just because you have this giant flag flying off the back of your giant pickup truck and then you have a pickup or American flag hat with your thin blue line T-shirt on.
Right.
Doesn't make you more American than someone not wearing all of this paraphernalia.
Right.
And I love like someone that doesn't subscribe to all of that full-on nationalistic mindset, but can also be like, listen, I'm American too, and just because I'm not some sort of hardcore conservative doesn't mean that I'm not a patriot or that I don't love this country. Right. And that's a ridiculous way to look at it, and so that's also why I love that so much.
Exactly. And I think the thing is too, I've watched some interviews, where Gary Clark Jr. talks about why he wrote the song and everything, and a lot of it has to do with obviously the way a lot of Americans were feeling after November 2017. But not
November
only
20s. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I thought you meant November 20th, 17.
Nope, November 2017. And and also just the experiences and the way he's been treated throughout his life. And I think that music has the power. I'm going to get on my soapbox here real quick, but I think music has a power to transcend culture, race, whatever it may be. If you look at the 60s and 70s, when we had the British invasion, as they call it, of all these British bands, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin,
right.
Cream,
that quote unquote counterculture.
Right, they came over and brought blues to America, even though blues had been in America for years.
Those British people stole it from the people like the Three Kings.
Exactly. But I think there's really something amazing about this, and this song has a really important story to tell that I think a lot of people need to listen to.
I agree with you. I listen to a rapper named Odyssey, and he's from DC. He's raps about very conscious aware stuff, but he's a great rapper. And he has this song called "You Grew Up," and it's about how he had this friend, this white friend as a kid, and how they grew up and went their separate ways, and the reality of how they both grew up separately came out, and it's stuff that's relatable, and they're good. It helps that they're good artists as well, so you can actually like bop your head to it, and it's not just like you're being taught a lesson. But also, these people are talking about things that they're actually experiencing and stuff that people can relate to, and that, I think, it's not just making something that you can bop your head to, but like that's what really separates, I think, pop music from people like Gary Clark Jr. or Odyssey, the rapper I was talking about,
right?
Where it's like you can actually, they're talking about something. This is not just fun music.
Exactly. There's a lot of substance behind it, and the music itself, as you mentioned, is also fantastic. So if you're interested in a powerful, moving song about the way I think a lot of Black people feel in the United States, check out our Twitter, Untranslatable1. We will be posting "This Land" by Gary Clark Jr. on there. Just get ready and be prepared for some goosebumps, because I get goosebumps every time I listen to the song.
Yeah, if you're go follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, where I post it, and do yourself a favor and watch the music video, because the music video really brings it together. There's stomping on Confederate flags and whatnot, and it's a powerful image for sure.
Oh, definitely, most definitely. Well, Jared, I'm curious to see how you'll feel about my Czech word of the pod today. I hope you'll like it. So my Czech word of the pod today is jediný. Any guesses what that means?
It kind of sounds like a racial slur.
It is not.
Get this jediný out of here. Oh, it's so funny. I just realized that when we do Czech words of the pod, they're usually like usually like sort of apropos to the topic.
Right.
And I was like, is it Czech for the N-word or something?
I don't know if they have. I don't know if they have one.
Like the N-word?
Yeah, like
maybe they probably just have like a form of the actual N-word.
Right.
I'm gonna guess that it's February, isn't it?
Oh, that would have been so much better. Oh,
is it not?
It's not February.
Okay, I remember you telling me the months.
That would have been so much better.
That's hilarious.
It is not February. Dziejiny means history.
Oh, okay.
I picked this word, one, because one of my previous Czech lessons we went over subjects in school, and this was one of them. But the other reason is I think it's really important for us to learn about history, and like you mentioned, try to get the full story. Not just history written by the people in power writing it, but also, everybody's story.
Black history is American history.
Absolutely. Honestly,
that's my personal quote of the pod right there.
Right. I think I agree with you. And actually, today what I'd like to do, since we have a little bit of time, I have one quote I picked, but I want to read a couple more just inspirational quotes from some very important...
You don't have any black jokes for the Black History Month?
I don't. Believe it or not, I don't. Honestly, man, I tried to think of or look up like wholesome, like kind of like an anti-joke. Or like a,
right.
Where,
or like shitting on the people that don't understand it or something
exactly.
like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find any, and I couldn't think of any.
How many black people does it take to screw in a light bulb? I don't have any response to that. I'm not even gonna.
Right. All right. So I want to read a couple quotes and get your take on them, Jared. So here we go.
All right.
So let me find one. Here we go. I think this one also resonates a little bit with some of the things we've been talking about. My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together. And that's by Desmond Tutu.
Who dat? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Can you say it one more time?
Absolutely. My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together.
Oh, okay. So it's like the more you dehumanize me, you're essentially dehumanizing yourself?
I guess. Yeah.
Because we have to like live as one.
Right.
That's a good quote, but that is like that's almost too smart for me.
Right. Well, here I'll give you a more straightforward one from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I really love this quote. And no, it's not I have a dream. That's not where I'm going with this. This quote.
Oh, by the way, fun fact, that I have a dream line was improvised.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't improvised, but it was not in his original speech. Let's put it that way.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice. So this quote I have from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., bless you, is, the time is always right to do what is right.
I like that.
That's a good one.
That's pretty good, yeah. That's
Parada.
That is a very like preacher thing to say.
That's true.
Literally sounds like something that comes straight out of a black church.
Oh,
but he was
definitely
a preacher, so I guess it makes sense.
Exactly. And then I cannot agree with you more, Jared, that black history is American history. 100%, no doubt.
Yeah.
And the last quote I'd like to leave you and the listeners with today is the first African-American female astronaut, Dr. Mae Jemison. And she said, never be limited by other people's limited imaginations.
Yeah. I like that. That's nice. That's almost like a PBS sort of like there should be some sort of like or like some sort of nice music behind it.
Right. But it's true.
Can I give you one of my personal favorite
Absolutely.
Black history icons? Madame C.J. Walker. Apparently she was born Sarah Breedlove, but she I guess changed her name. She was an entrepreneur. She was a philanthropist, an activist, and she was also the first self-made millionaire. And she was not only the first female millionaire in the United States. She was the first. Excuse me. She was not only the first black female millionaire in the United States,
but the first female.
She was
millionaire.
the first female millionaire in the United States.
Nice.
Period. Self-made.
Nice.
And I think that's awesome. And there's this picture I used to have. There's this picture I used to have as the screensaver on my computer. And it's her rolling around in this badass, 1910s car.
Nice.
With, her and 3 other black women and this one white woman. And she's just driving down the street.
That's awesome.
With this sweet hat. They all have these sweet hats on. And it's just, I just imagine, her bumping You See Me Rolling or something like that.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I love that. I think that's so cool.
Oh, most definitely. Absolutely. Well, we hope you all have enjoyed our episode today about Black history, which is American history. Sorry, Jack, I just love that line. It's so true. And we hope you've been able to learn a little bit about some very important people that really should be taught throughout the entire history curriculum. And I think this has been a really wonderful episode. It's been great to hear your opinions about everything, Jared. Check out our song of the pod, This Land by Gary Clark Jr. on our Twitter. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. We'd be happy to also share some more and commemorate more important Black people in the history of the United States. Throughout this month, we got lots of time. So if that's something you're interested, drop us a line, and we'd be happy to do that for you. And please check out our Twitter, Untranslatable1, as I've mentioned, our Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, and also shoot us an email. If you have anybody specifically who your favorite historical figures might be, if you have any inspirational quotes or untranslatables, we would love to get some of those from you. So we thank you so much for your support and for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and you've learned something interesting about Black History Month. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Dziękujemy.